Hi guys, it's Jamie here. It's been a really long time since I've done a journal with me, partly because I've been so busy with Creator Club and all the different kits that we're doing, and partly because they took a whole day in themselves. And I think that's because we were making the junk journal alongside the journal prompts. Therefore, a way forward might be to use an existing journal that I bought from AliExpress. It's super cheap. It's basically a stitched plain book that goes inside a plastic cover, Midori style, and together with a pile of scraps, because I always have lots of scraps and there's only so many masterboards I can make, I thought we could do some journaling prompts. I am not going to promise daily. I'm not going to do this page because I think a double page spread looks nice. I've actually bone folded this down because it's quite thick on one side. I want a relatively flat surface. The other thing I might do is slip a book underneath to bring that up level. That just levels out those pages. For those who've never done a journal with me, what we do is we're going to do a bit of decorating and a journaling prompt, so that if you do not have a busy life and you don't have loads to diarise things that you've done, you've still got an opportunity to have a journal that you keep on a regular basis. I've got lots of scraps left over from the upcoming Paris kit. We can actually do traditional junk journaling by gluing things in that open out, but I thought we'd just create a pretty page for today using some of these and also leave enough space that we can do some writing. I'm just deciding how much I want of this patterned paper. I also have some old book page here that I'd like to do as a background for these pieces, and I want a more torn look to those. Therefore, I'm going to stain the edges of these with my frayed burlap. The reason I'm using frayed burlap is because I have it on hand. I've just finished doing the Paris final tutorial. What I want to do now is glue those onto these bits of script. For this stage, I'm actually going to hand tear and again stain these edges. I think I'm going to do it that way round. Now I'm going to look in a box of a kind of general ephemera that I've got, which is often leftovers from kits and freebies from the group, and see what else we can add that might make this journal interesting. These are both from the Paris journal. I have this leftover from the Peonies kit, and I thought that would look pretty going over that photograph, creating more of a border on this page. With this style of journal page, you can either write directly onto the page or you can create some journaling spaces. I'm going to look at the Paris papers and decide if I'd like to create a journaling space rather than right onto the brown, and I think I will. That's a bit too short, but that could go up there, or we can balance this by putting that up there, and that would be maybe contain the date. I did use some of this paper as a background. Might take some of it to create faux washi strip alongside some real washi. Other piece. Might do something similar to reflect this under the date. I think with these squares I should have done more, i.e. stained the edges. Therefore I'm going to matte and layer them with another one of the Paris papers. Now I just want to see what we've got in the way of small decorations for postage stamp, blue flower. I have the tiniest of bees. I have a feeling I want to do something at the bottom of this one, but I don't know yet. Okay, I'm going to trim this down, put that way. I just need to sort out where I'm cutting this one. I'm nearly there on this journal page. I'm still finding it a bit gappy, even though you can have gaps. But because I'm writing in this designated space, it's not like these gaps are going to be used for 'Therefore I've edged this ticket in the frayed burlap, and I'm going to run that down that side. I cut a ticket down because it was a lot slightly too wide, and I didn't necessarily want it to not have any gaps. I'm going to put that Versailles ticket, which is outside of Paris but is associated with Paris, on there. Still quite stripy and everything over here, so I'm wondering about throwing down a bit more peony. Yeah, I've got a lot of leftover peonies. I happen to like that kit, so I've got a lot of them. And I find this relaxing, a prompt from the gratitude set, but actually does explain how I find doing this sort of thing. Might put the journal prompt up here and put the answer here, which means date wise I want to stamp somewhere around here. We're going to start with a nice simple prompt. Normally this is one that you do at the start of a year, but we can choose when we start a year after all. The prompt is to choose a word for this year that you want to live by and why that would be the word that you choose. For me, that's going to be build, for a couple of reasons. One is that a year ago I left my previous business, which was recipes and nutrition for fitness professionals, helping them help their clients, which I've been doing for 10 years, to start in this junk journaling world. When you first start any new business, the first year is a bit of a killer, and it has been. The second year should be a year where you start to build on what you've created. That's why I've chosen build on that level. On a personal level, my youngest goes off to university this year. My other two children are out of the house, so it's time to downsize or right size to something smaller, and I'm probably now going to move back to my hometown where I haven't lived for 40 years. But I also want to build a life outside of work, outside of children and looking after a house, and therefore I want to build into that right sizing, some downshifting, which would mean to work very, very solidly for 4 months, take 2 months off and go away, live abroad, relax, come back, work solidly for 4 months and take myself off again for 2 months. So that is the plan. If I end up renovating a house where I'm moving to, there'll be a third aspect to the build. So I think build is a really appropriate word for me. I'm looking forward to seeing what your word is going to be and why. I'll be back very soon with another journal with me prompt.